Right, welcome back everyone to whatever episode of Catabolic Window we're on now, like close to 100. We're here with Luke eventually, but currently I've got big Finn Kelly in front of me, which is quite surreal to have you on the podcast, mate, I've got to say. I've been watching your podcast since lockdown, as I'm sure you're used to, and sick of hearing people say. So yeah, mate, welcome. How have things been? How's your week been?
First of all, thank you, mate. Thank you for having me. Thank you as well for obviously supporting my podcast. I remember when you came up to me and Reese in the gym, and you just seemed like a really nice guy. You were like, I just thought I'd come and say hello because I love the podcast. And people, don't get me wrong, people obviously say that, but very rarely do they come across really well. You know what I mean? You came across just really, really well, and we were like, oh, he seems like a good guy. So yeah, obviously, mate, I'm more than happy to come on and give you some of my time and have a chat. So yeah, I'm all good, mate. We were literally just chatting before the podcast. I'm staying at my dad's at the minute while my house is getting ready. I'm just in the sort of stage of waiting for the solicitors to do their thing. This is my first house, so I don't really know how it all works and how long it takes. But obviously, as people will make you aware, it is a ball ache, especially this time of year. Just everything's slowing down. But I've got plenty of other things to keep me busy and occupied. And like I said to you before, luckily I'm staying at my dad's, and he's sound. I don't have to pay anything here, so it's not like I'm wasting money renting somewhere or anything like that. So yeah, I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. Just busy, but can't complain.
Busy, I feel like busy's good, particularly because obviously we're both self-employed, both coaches. Busy's good. It's kind of do you find I feel like I'm definitely guilty of this. Do you find that you get kind of addicted to being busy a little bit?
Yeah, it's not healthy. the thing is, I've got to a point now where, and the thing is, I say I've learned from it. I'm still doing it, but I've learned from it to the point where it's if you're not careful, 5 years of your life goes by.
Yeah.
And you realize that all you've done is put time into your business. But don't get me wrong, it's got me to where I am now, which is incredible. And I wouldn't change it. But there's also things that I think I could have maybe been okay, that could have been managed better. And especially within bodybuilding as well, you find yourself, it is very much like a tunnel vision kind of sport where when you're locked in, you feel as though you're in the best position where you can make the most progress. And it's the same with business. When you're self-employed, you literally get out what you put in. And
yeah,
if you are slack, especially in this industry, it's fucking competitive. Sorry, I'm sure I can swear on here.
Yeah. It's
competitive. If you're not careful, if I used to just have 2-3 days where I just didn't get back to clients, that's awful. You'll lose clients. You can be the best coach in the world if your response times are shite, and if you're not sort of setting the standard and that example, you're not going to get anywhere. So you have to be very, very much sort of wanting to be busy, I find, because if you're not, if you're the type who wants time off all the time, don't get me wrong, you need it, it's important to have that balance. But if you're somebody who wants that all the time, you'll struggle, I think, in anything if you're self-employed.
Yeah, to an extent you almost have to kind of earn that right to have time off, getting yourself to a point where if you've just started and you've been coaching for 7 days, taking a day or two off isn't going to make much sense. You kind of need to work your way up. And speaking of coaching, we've got Luke in the call now. There he is. I was saying to Finn, it's like I've invited Finn to a mates do, being oh yeah, Luke will be here, and then Luke's not showing up. It's I'm trying to get him on a date.
Sorry, mate. I was just astounded because I asked this guy in the gym to put his weights away, and he looked at me like I just slapped his mum. And I'm, what? You just be a decent human being.
Which gym do you work at, mate?
Gym Group explains it all.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Then you PT'd for a bit, didn't you? Where were you out of?
Yeah, so I PT'd at Pure Gym Loughborough probably for 2 to 3 years, maybe two, but it was obviously kind of during the lockdown. So basically, I went to Loughborough Uni for sports science, was getting my degree and just hated it. Was the most, it felt like such a waste of time. As we were just saying, I like being busy, and I just felt with uni, it was you go in for an hour and then you've got a 4-hour gap, and then you've got another hour in the 4. It's so I just worked all the time. So I had 3 jobs while I was at uni, and then I started the PT course. But 100%, I just neglected my degree. I did it. I got a 2-2. I shouldn't. God knows how. I honestly don't know how I passed. I don't remember any of it. But yeah, I just focused on working, and like it built me what I've got to this point. And like I think it just built me this work ethic, which I kind of always had instilled in me anyway, just from like growing up. But yeah, like I did my PT course because I just didn't want to only be doing the degree. And then literally the day that I got my PT qualification on the Friday, the Saturday morning, I went into Pure Gym in Loughborough because I knew it was like the main one in where I was staying. And I literally went in and I was like, I've got my PT qualification yesterday. I can show you like the confirmation, and had a chat, and they were like, yeah, cool, like you're in. But sound like it was weird. I thought it'd be like no chance, like you've not got any experience or anything like that. I thought it would take me ages, but because I think, without being arrogant, because I trained and I looked after myself, and I'm quite personable and stuff, and I'm like polite and everything, and they were like buzzing that I was there. I was like, this is amazing. So I was in like the next day, and then I was just honestly must have spent almost all my time there for however many months, like trying to get clients in. I used to just get there at like 6, even if I wasn't on shift. I used to stay till like 10, even if I wasn't having clients. Like the thing is, like people, and again, like sorry if I'm like sounding arrogant, but or like a twat, like people don't do that and then wonder why they don't have clients. It's like, well, because you're not even in the gym, like you're not even showing your face. Like if you were to speak to any of the like Pure Gym members from those first probably 6 months that I was there, like they'd have been like, why are you here all the time? I was like, because that's the whole point, is like people know who you are. So yeah, I did that, and to be fair, I loved it, absolutely loved it, up until it got a little bit almost to the point where I was like, I feel like I want to coach better athletes at this point. But for the first couple of years, mate, I was absolutely living the dream. You know, like, you know, you're working for yourself, you're doing something you love, you're in the gym all the time when you're like getting into it. And, you know, it's like new, it's a new world where you're learning so much every day about training, and you're learning about new clients. It was class. I learned a lot with like, that's definitely 100%. It like has good sort of cross transfer or it's transferable into the online side of things. 100%. I think I don't think you need to be a PT before a coach at all, but I do think it can be beneficial.
I feel like PT is often kind of demonized now. It's like, it's weird. I feel like coaching and bodybuilding is kind of like on this pedestal, and then you've kind of got other things related to it of like people who bodybuild but don't compete and being a PT, and those are kind of like quite almost demonized. And then you end up with people who are coaching who shouldn't be, and people stepping on stage who shouldn't be.
Well, it's almost like people argue against PT by like taking all of the really bad examples. It's like if PTs were doing the same thing of like, oh, you don't want an online coach because they'll just give you like a program on a Word document, and then they'll send you a 2-minute video like 5 days late or whatever the fuck it is. It was like, well, yeah, obviously that's shit. But I feel like for the classic sort of Gen Pop person, PT is probably a better bet. When you're looking at more advanced athletes, like a session every once in a while in person is definitely good for sure.
Yeah.
To do with them, but the more online side of things makes more sense there. But is it exactly what you were saying, Finn? Like it blows my mind how many people just like aren't there and then are like, why have I not got any clients?
Yeah.
But like I'll walk in the door now and I'll say hello to 5 people before I get to the staff room. It's insane.
It is literally though, but I think it's like it's quite a sought after job when you like training. You know what I mean? Because like nobody, it like if you enjoy training, like most people think, oh, I'd love to be a PT or I'd love to be an online coach, but it's not that simple. You know what I mean? It's like it's not just all like the positives that you think it is. Like, oh yeah, cool, I get to be in the gym. It's like it's hard work. Like it is a lot of hard work. Like you have to put in the hours. Like we were saying, you know, what you get out of it is what you put in when you're self-employed. Like that is literally that. Like so. Yeah, I think people do just sort of see it as this easy way of making money. And they go, oh, what? You know, you're an online coach and you make X amount. And it's like, yeah, but come and live a day in my life or a week and you'll be like, oh my God, this is too much. Can't do it. Like, it's a lot. It is a lot. And like, you end up breaking down relationships, pushing people away. Like, if you're not careful, it does that. Like, and again, like I was saying with you, Jack, like you have to learn from that 100%, but also like, you got to think like, what do you actually enjoy and what do you thrive from? And like, for me, I enjoy helping people. I thrive from seeing my business grow and my clients improve. Like if I'm on a show day and I've got like, let's say, like for example, when I went to that Island show and all my clients won, I had like 6 wins and an overall. Like, I was like, what the fuck? Like this is ridiculous. Like I was buzzing. Like I can't remember like really when I was like that happy. You know what I mean? I was like, this is ridiculous. This is insane. Like one of the best days of my life. Like I'm happy if I'm busy doing that. You know what I mean? Like I'm more than happy doing that.
Yeah.
So it's like as long as you get that enjoyment from being super busy, I think it's okay. And like obviously you still have the days, like I'm sure you will, Luke, as well. Like where you're in the gym and you're like, oh, I've got this client who's frustrating me, and it's the same with online. Like you have clients who do frustrate you at times, like within a prep or within an off season, or even if it's a lifestyle client. Like it's not just all fun and games. Like it is difficult, but obviously like I wouldn't change it for the world. Like it comes with so many positives, and I think a hybrid approach is good. Like you were just saying about like PT and online. Like I think that's the perfect split. If you're wanting to be an online coach but you're not stupidly busy, you should be both, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of merit to both. It's not an either or because they both have their own pros and cons. And like you were kind of saying, Finn, about being self-employed, people view it as like, oh, I get to work when I want. Not really. You kind of working when you want quickly becomes into working constantly in order to kind of like keep up with everything. Like if most of your clients are working 9 to 5, your hours are going to be pre-9 and post-5 because that's where everyone is most active. You'll still have stuff to do between the hours of 9 to 5, but as soon as 5 o'clock's done, like you're not going to clock off because that's when most of your clients switch on their phone and start talking to you. So coaching can very quickly, particularly as well, international clients, then your job really becomes 24/7 because everyone's responding and waking up and doing things at different time. And like you get training clips coming through right before you go to bed, you'll wake up, messages on your phone. But again, you have to enjoy coaching for what it is because there's a lot of jobs where like you'll get a million messages coming through from your boss or team members or whatever. But like if I was doing that and I was working at like a fucking accounting firm, but this is awful. But if those messages are related to training, nutrition, coaching, whatever, then it's a lot more engaging.
This is a good question though. Right. So although we're self-employed, we're not really because our clients are really our boss.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Because if we're not providing a good service, like if you were employed and you were shit at your job, you'd get sacked. Likewise, if you're self-employed and you're shit at your job, you'll get sacked. So as much as I am self-employed, like I'm not, it's like when like getting my mortgage or like the gym, which hopefully we'll talk about a bit, like I can't believe that I'm in that position. But then also if I speak to my clients, they're like, of course you are, like, you're fucking great. Like, we like love the service and like, you've done this for years. Like, so like, I can't remember who said it to me. It wasn't even that long ago, but they were like, yes, you're self-employed, but you're actually, your boss is all of your clients.
Yeah.
Like you've got to impress your boss on a daily basis so that they want to keep basically paying you and they want to continue being a client. I think it's a good way of looking at it because otherwise you get complacent and go, oh, I'm self-employed, I do what I want in my own time. No, you're not really. Like these people are paying you.
Yeah, it's like you're at the beck and call of like literally dozens of people. I mean, for some coaches, a couple hundred, like on your phone constantly messaging you. It's like, I think that's almost why it's good to have business hours because it's very easy to like get wrapped up in trying to like, if you wake up in the middle of the night to go for a piss, picking up your phone and firing through your WhatsApp, because there's always going to be work to do there. So it's good to kind of be like, right, guys, just so you know, like after 9 p.m, I'm just going to go to bed, but I'll be up at this time to get through everything. But there comes a time where you're like, okay, for your own sanity, you kind of
communication is so important as well. Like I was in Leeds all day yesterday filming, and I just put a message in my group chat and just said like, right, guys, just to let you know, like I'm not going to be on my laptop as much today. I'm not really going to be able to be on my phone. So like response times will be delayed today. And therefore like, I'll probably take me a bit longer to get back to everybody tomorrow. Like just letting you know, like apologies. And they're like, yeah, cool. Like everybody understands as long as you actually make them aware. If you just ghost people and you don't get back to them for 3-4 days, like what's going on? But if you're like, sorry guys, this has happened, or I'm doing this at the minute, or I'm off on these days because it's Christmas or whatever, people do understand. But like you were saying before, you have to earn that right. Like I would have never dreamt of doing that 2 years ago when I had like a lot less clients. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when I was building my business, I wouldn't be able to afford Sam to go and film for a day. But like, you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't have done that. I would have been like, I need to make sure that like, and the thing is I think I still did like 10, 12 check-ins before I even went to Leeds. So it's not like I didn't do work. I just didn't get able to get back to everybody as I usually would kind of through the day and stuff. So yeah, like, but 100% as you were saying, like if someone's listening to this, who's a coach, who's got like 10 clients, like you don't need to be messaging your group chat saying I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like just get back to your clients. Like it's 10 clients. Like
yeah. I remember in my early years, I used to work on holiday because my check-ins would take me like 10 minutes, 30 minutes. And it's like, I went on holiday last year, and it was like, I can't do check-ins, guys. Sorry, I'm gonna have to take it off, because if I end up doing check-ins, just the whole week is gone. Like, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It blows my mind the amount of people that like want to be in that position where they're really busy, but then don't want to do any of the fucking work for it.
It's the same with league development is the exact same.
Do you think that's where you picked it up then at uni, like where you were just doing all the extra stuff because you were like, I'm so fucking bored?
Yeah, I think I've always had that. Like, I think I've always had that kind of work ethic. I've always had that kind of like thing where like I wanted to be like, growing up, I was like, I need to be the best. Like if I'm not, then I'm like a failure. Like if I came second on sports day, I cried. Like I like legit. Like my mate plays football now. He got signed as a kid for Scunthorpe, which is like near where we live. Like I was buzzing for him, but I cried because I was like, why is that not me? Like I should be doing that. Yeah, I mean, like I've always been like that. And I think like with that, I always want to be seen as somebody that like I want to almost look up to myself in the sense of like I want to make myself proud and be somebody that I think like right that you know they're somebody that I would aspire to be. Like I kind of want to be that for myself, you know what I mean? And like you go through times where you are, and then you go through times where you're definitely not. Like within my prep last year and like recovering from my prep, definitely not the type of person that I wanted to be. But I'm like kind of getting back to that now and like getting back to myself and like definitely a lot more like how I want to be portraying myself and how the person I want to be. So like I feel like I kind of like lost myself a little bit towards the back end of that prep and like recovering from the prep. But yeah, like I've always had that in me, like just wanting to work and wanting to work hard and like get up and go. Like I've always kind of had that. I think, yeah, I think maybe like based on that kind of want to be the best, but then also like you say with uni, it was almost like I enjoyed being the weird student that didn't go out and that trained and that worked multiple jobs. I kind of liked that, even though it was like now I look back and I think I probably should have lived my life a bit more. You know what I mean? I do look back and think I probably should have enjoyed this and I probably should have gone out a bit more. But then I also look at like where my business is and like things that I'm able to do. And I also think, well, actually, I'm kind of glad I'm in the position I'm in because I probably wouldn't be if I didn't do that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It would always like blow my mind at uni, like the amount of people that would just seemingly incapable of doing any work. They'd be like coming up to an assignment 2 days before and they're like, oh, I'm just starting now. I'm like, what the fuck? Because I've also got a job and coaching and bodybuilding and I've managed to submit it 2 weeks ago. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
People are just like, what's the name of it? There's like in psychology, there's a term where we all like leave things till the last minute because we like it increases your productivity knowing you've got a closer deadline. There's an actual term for it.
Like procrastination or?
Yeah, but there is an actual like psychological principle and somebody's gone, it's like, you know, like somebody's come up with it and it's their principle or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And it's basically like where like there is a thing within humans where we do like wait because we've got until then, and then when then comes closer, your productivity level's way higher because you've got to push through it and get it done. But obviously then the quality of the work is shit. But yeah, like
Parkinson's law, where like however long you give yourself to do something is how long it's going to take, or something slightly different.
Yeah, might be something like that. Yeah,
but yeah, there's definitely when you've got that sense of urgency of oh fuck, I need to do it. Like people are just able to then eventually get it done, but you can't lie and say, oh, I work best this way. Like
no, definitely not.
You've just fucked around for 3 weeks.
I think
I work best just leaving it right till the end, right?
Yeah, leave the whole prep until like peak week and then just figure out.
Like, do all your check-ins at like 10 p.m. I work best at the night, guys. I'm a night owl.
I feel like that's that kind of being able to motivate yourself to do work is, I feel like it's a trait inherent in bodybuilders, and a lot of bodybuilders are good coaches because, like, I'm going to say we, even though I haven't stepped on stage, we tend to kind of like do things even if the process is not that sexy or not that appealing in the moment, because we know that it's going to pay off later. Like in uni, we all did work that we didn't really want to do, but that wasn't a reason to not do it now, because you're gonna have to do it at some point, so you might as well fucking get it done, because we value almost like it's like delayed gratification. Like we value that end result more than we value, oh, I could do it today or tomorrow. Like you're not really going to be able to procrastinate it that long.
Yeah, I think like the lessons that bodybuilding does teach you, there's so many like positives that you can like relate to just general life. Like, and I think as well, like even just from a mental health standpoint, like the amount of clients that I speak with, and like bodybuilding isn't about how they look. Like it's literally about the purpose that it gives them. Like most people, they might not have much outside of like making enough money to just live. And then they're like, well, what else do I do with my time? Because I've not got like loads of friends or family, like, and that's fine. Like you find a hobby that you love, and bodybuilding is one of, if not the best, in my opinion, kind of hobby that you can find that does that, because it's like a yearly, it's a yearly thing. It's you can even if Christmas time, of course you have your Christmas dinner and stuff, but like outside of like those kind of holidays and stuff, you can keep yourself and your mind occupied in a positive way pretty much 24/7. Like I recently went through like a big breakup, and like the basics of bodybuilding kept me mentally sane. Yeah, like, and like imagine if I didn't have that. Like what do? You turn to drugs, you turn to alcohol, you turn to something to try and like keep your mind occupied and take it away from like what's actually going on. Whereas luckily I've got like meal 1 and meal 2 and like focus on that. But it's true, like 100%. Like as much as like there are negatives that come with bodybuilding, like of course there's a lot of negatives, but like I do think that the positives, especially if you look at bodybuilding in more so of like a holistic sense of what does it actually bring to your life. Like if you were to just completely not be able to do it at all, like not be able to focus on looking after yourself and growing, like obviously there's other ways you can, but like the principles that it gives you, if you were to not have that, like yeah, I would dread to think how I would be mentally, and how most people would be that I know would get into it. I think you get into it to look better. You get into it to maybe impress girls. I think a lot of guys get into it for that, or because maybe you grow up and you're a bit smaller and you want to get bigger, like, or you want to lose a lot of weight. Like you get into it for a certain reason, but then I think so many people, you stay in it because of like what it does for your head instead of what it does for your physique.
I feel like the most fun part for me was, like you said, it makes everything purposeful, because you're going to eat in a day, so you might as well eat to do something productive. You're probably going to go for a walk. You might as well track those steps. You're going to go to bed. You might as well pay attention to how much you're sleeping. You're going to drink water. You might as well get some electrolytes in there. You enjoy training, so you might as well make it productive. So it's like you just kind of do things day to day. And sometimes this is going to sound so big-headed, but like I look at what I'm eating and I look at the people around me and I think they're just eating because like it's just something to do. Whereas I'm eating because I'm like, I enjoy this actively. This is something I want to eat. And it's going to serve a purpose. Like if I eat this meal, I am one step closer to doing something and achieving something that I really fucking care about. And it's like that sense of purpose, like you said, to everything that you're doing. It turns even mundane things into, this is now something that serves a greater purpose. It makes days feel like they move forward and take you somewhere rather than just kind of passing by.
It hurts my brain when I see someone like, and they're just having like toast for lunch. I'm like, oh, I can't do it. I just can't do it.
That's crazy though, isn't it? That's us being weird. Like weird. We are. It's like,
we're like, can you just put some chicken with it, please? Like just
strange.
Yeah, literally. Or like a bit of yogurt, or like, I don't know, something in there. Turn it into a ham sandwich, please, mate. I'm begging you.
If you don't like, again, you see anyone not having like a protein serving, you're like, what's going on? Like, but they don't care. They don't think about that, and that's fine. Like, as much as we might be like, oh, it's strange. Like, obviously, I wouldn't judge someone on that if they're not asked. But when it's like they'll judge you and take the piss out of you because you're eating probably something that's maybe more nutritious, and like you say, once like you're actually working towards a goal, you're the one that's weird and gets the piss taken out of you. It's like,
yeah. Have you ever worked out like how many slices of ham you like actually need for it to be a decent protein serving?
Yes.
It's like, it's a fucking wedge of ham. It's so
I remember
funny.
when I first started training, like raiding my mum's cupboards for like tuna and ham, and like the concoctions I would make just to hit like 40-50 grams of protein in one sandwich would be fucking insane, especially dieting when you've not got a lot of calories to play with. Horrendous, mate.
I can't remember the last time I had a sandwich. Like, I forget that like sandwiches are sound food, like it's a sound meal, but like I don't think like I have a bagel, that's my sandwich, you know what I mean? I've like bagel and eggs, like that's like basically, or like chicken bagel, but like it's not a sandwich. But a sandwich is such a common thing, like for everybody to have. And like, I'm like, I can't remember last time I had a sandwich.
Mate, that's the thing. You ever go to like the shops at like midday and everyone's like buying a meal deal or like a microwave meal? I can't remember the last time I had a microwave meal or like bought a meal deal. Like, just again, like the way that we think about food is like protein source, carb source, potentially fat source, veg, maybe fruit. Like, I can't imagine structuring meals in any other way. It's like when people wake up and just have like a bowl of sugary cereal and then they're like, I'm fucking starving for lunch. I wonder why, mate. What is going on?
Cereal is good though.
Yeah, bang.
My favorite one is the like rip-off choco shells that Aldi.
Where do you get those from?
Lidl.
Okay, I need to get myself a Lidl.
Yeah, the ones that the other supermarkets do are shit.
The choco shells are class, aren't they? They're just expensive, and the boxes aren't that big. go through them way too quick.
Cereal that'll last all week, and you're like 3 meals. What?
There's like 9 grams of protein per 100 grams or something. I mean, I know it's not great. It's not like a complete protein source.
High protein cereal.
I've seen clients like, oh mate, I'm having like 80 grams in my post-workout meal, 80 grams of protein. I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'm having 200 grams of that cereal and like 60 grams away. I'm like, look at that cereal, like most protein I've ever seen in a cereal.
Have you seen they've started to label chocolate as high protein now?
Oh yeah.
Gosh.
And it's just normal chocolate. It's like fucking 12 grams for 100 grams of chocolate. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like 12 grams of protein for 500 cal. So it's what, like 1 in every 100 cal is like 1 calorie of protein per 100 calories of total food. Like, ridiculous. Like 1% protein, basically. All right, one of the things that I wanted to ask, because I don't really remember and or know, but Finn, how did you even get into bodybuilding? So I know you got a background in football, but how did you get into bodybuilding? And because I know I've heard you speak about coaching a lot, but
so when I was probably like 14, one of my like close mates, so I'm still like really good mates with now, like he started training, and there was a gym like 5-10 minute walk from our school, like our secondary school. And he started training and like started like growing, and like I think a lot of us were influenced by that, and we were like, oh cool, like we'll start. And then like did that for probably 6 months to a year. And like I didn't, like, obviously I was still absolutely tiny, but like you could tell that I trained. Like I was tiny, but I had like a little bit of muscle. But then I couldn't like carry on because I couldn't, obviously I was 14, I couldn't drive, and it was like a 10-minute drive from my house. So like my mum had to keep coming and picking me up because I'd missed the school bus because I'd go to the gym. So like, that wasn't really fair. Like I couldn't afford it, even though I think it was £10 a week. But I couldn't afford it because obviously I was a kid. I didn't have a job. So I stopped. And like, again, I've never been like overweight as a kid. My nickname is Skinny. It still is. Like my mates still call me Skinny. My dad calls me Skinny Finny. Like that's my name, like growing up, because I was just really, really lean all the time. Like I had abs like my whole life growing up. You know, I was just lean. Like, I used to do sit-ups and press-ups and stuff in my room. Like, but even then I never thought about bodybuilding, like ever. Like I literally just was like, I want to look pretty good. That was it. Played football growing up. Like I always thought growing up that I was going to be a footballer, to be fair, like because I was good, like, and I was like around here, like one of the better players. So it was like, oh, I'm going to be able to do it, I think. And then that never happened. So it was like, right, okay. So I was playing like semi-pro when I was from like 16, I think. Played semi-pro for a couple of years. Went to college. I had like a year gap where I worked at a Next in Doncaster. And during that year gap, I was like, well, I've got time in the evenings, because like I was literally working through the day. And I was like, right, I'm going to get back into the gym. I don't really know what inspired me to do it back then, to be honest. Like I can't really remember when I got into it again, but I just got into it again. I think I had my own money and stuff, and it was like, right, I'm just going to crack on. So yeah, started training at like the leisure centre, and then training at the same old gym, which is called Peak Physique. It's actually run by, do you know the DJ Frankie Wah?
No.
You'd probably know a couple of his songs. So he lives in this village that I'm in now. He basically owned the gym. It's called Peak Physique. It's been taken over now. So like it was his gym, and I like was training there. And then that's when I went to uni. And when I went to uni, I was still playing football. So I was going to go to Loughborough Dynamo, which were like a decent team. But at this point, I was just like falling out of love with it. Like I was playing semi-pro. I was getting paid like hardly anything, like enough to cover like travel. And like, that was it. And like training maybe once or twice a week, plus a game, quite a lot of travel, like to not even really be enjoying it. I was a bit like, I don't even know if I'm going to carry on playing football, which is weird because it was like my whole life, like literally from when I was like 3. So like it is still now, like I miss it loads, like playing, I do. But yeah, like I kind of just went to uni, got into the football team, but then like it was 6 a.m. training sessions and you didn't get paid. And I was like, I'm not even loving it. And I'm spending a lot of time doing it. Like it's probably not what I'm going to do. So I then stopped and played futsal. So because like basically like indoor 5-a-side. So I thought that would be more fun. And like that's what I enjoyed more. But even that, it was like so serious. Like because it's Loughborough, they need to be the best. It was like so serious. And I was like, I'm not really enjoying this. I want to play football for fun. And this is just like way too intense for like what I actually want to get from it. So I basically just sacked it off. And I was like, I'm just going to focus on the gym. Because one of the reasons that I couldn't fully focus on the gym was playing football and not being able to train legs as well and getting injured and stuff. So I just stopped playing football and focused completely on the gym. That was the point where I like delved into YouTube, delved into like literally at the time it was like Rob Lipsett and like Ross Dickerson and like Steve Cook, those kind of people. Yeah. Like that was, I kind of got into it. Like, I think a lot of people got into it before like Matt Ogus kind of age and things like that. Me was a little bit late. Like Mike Thurston, like that was one of the guys that I first started watching, and like his content was great, and like I learned loads, and like I was like, fucking hell, this is so cool. Like I'm learning how to train. Like I used to stand in the mirror and like watch myself contract muscle to learn how to do it. I remember I used to sit when I drive to work in my car. I used to literally think about contracting different body parts while I was driving to learn how to like engage that muscle.
That's incredible. That's so good.
I'd like turn left and I'd be like, think about contracting my pec to turn left and like think about horizontal adduction because I'm learning all these terms. Like, honestly, mate, I did it all the time. Me and Reese said he used to do the same, like, which is weird, like little things like that. Like I'd be in like an exam and if I'd finish early, I'd like literally just think about, can I like contract my hamstring? Can I contract this body part? Can I connect with this? But I loved it. I was like, this is crazy. Like this is something completely new that I've never understood. So I loved it. I got into all that, got into nutrition. I remember I used to like write like on my, like I used to get like piece of paper and write down like protein source, like price per 30-gram serving and like work out what was cheapest. And then same with carbs and same with fats. And like I used to go to Morrison's with £50 on my phone calculator and get as much as I could for that £50 within all those things on the cheapest things. Like, so I'd literally have like oats and potato and like the cheapest peanut butter that you could find and things like that. Like, eat those kind of things. And like, I probably did that for like a year or two, just like absolutely loving it. And then I built pretty decent physique. And like by that point, I was getting loads of questions about like, what have you done? Like I was getting people, because I was just so skinny growing up, like I was getting like loads of steroid accusations, which was quite funny. I get 0 now because I'm just a shit natty now, but back then I was quite good. Like, I just loved it. And like, yeah, I basically from there just kind of carried it on and got to where I am now. Like basically that led to me just like PTing, coaching. Lockdown happened. Obviously, I'd already met Reese in the gym. When lockdown happened, I was prepping for my junior show, my junior prep. So it was like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do? So like Reese had some kit. We put it in his shed, trained together. Me and Reese got to know each other a lot more. And then, yeah, like basically from then, it's just been a case of like lockdown actually, like to be fair, our businesses blew up, I think, from lockdown because we posted our training clips every day. And people like loved it because obviously a lot of people were training. We trained for like 4 or 5 hours every day because we had nothing else to do. We had a few clients, we didn't have loads. I couldn't PT. I was doing like some Zoom sessions, but yeah, so we just trained and like immersed ourselves in it. Learned a lot about ourselves within training, not just like learn a lot about the science. Like we experimented on what works for us for like hours and hours a day. And it was class. Like, yeah, I miss that a lot. Like, that's one of the reasons that we've got our own gym now is like because of that. And unfortunately, we used to call the gym the Shed, and we can't call our actual gym the Shed because of the new gym the Shed. So that was annoying. But yeah, like that's kind of how I got into it, mate. And like, I guess it just spirals, doesn't it? You don't really realize how you get to this point. Like you think, you boys, like, how did you get to a podcast? You look like you work it all back. You go, oh, it all started from just like kind of like finding a YouTube video or like stepping in the gym because somebody else went, and there you go.
So how did that all come about then? Because I saw that on Instagram this morning with you and Reese opening the gym next year.
So to be fair, I'll give it to him. It was Reese's idea. So I think, I don't know, I couldn't tell you when it was, but like me and Reese used to go to the same physio. Or Reese and I used to go to the same physio. I hate when people say me and someone. Reese and I used to go to the same physio. And on Reese's close friend's story that day, he'd put like a photo of Sanaya with loads of cash, just like joking about something. And I said to him, like, what's that about? And he was like, oh, I'm just getting some gym kit. And I was like, what? I was like, really? He was like, yeah. And I was like, well, why haven't you spoke to me about it? And he's like, well, I didn't know if you'd want to be involved. And I was like, well, let's have a chat then. Like, so we had a chat about it. And I was like, yeah, mate, let's do it. Like, as much as I love coaching, like, you know, you've got to have a bit of a contingency plan. Like, you know, I'm not probably going to be coaching at 50, 60 years old. You know, I don't think many teen bodybuilders are going to want to come to me then. And you know what I mean? Like, you got to be aware of that. So like, I want to build a bigger thing, you know, and the gym is one of those things as well as other things. But yeah, like, you know, credit to Reese, it was basically his kind of idea. So I'll give him that. But yeah, then we just basically, he bought a good amount of kit. I've bought a good amount of kit. We've had it in storage for ages, which has been costing us quite a bit to just store it. I think we've got like 3 pretty big storage units with it all in. But yeah, I think it probably did all come about from lockdown, because like those memories, like my favorite training memories are then, and the kit was shit. Like we were doing like banded adductors and things. Like we didn't have good kit, but like it was just, you went in, there was no service on your phone. So we filmed, but you couldn't go on your phone. You couldn't get back to clients or go on Instagram. You literally just went in, chucked your music on and trained. It was freezing. It was dark, you know, but it was fun. And I think we kind of just wanted to recreate that, but obviously, you know, it'd be a bit better. And obviously then, you know, we will have it for us initially, like literally for a little bit of time, just to build a little bit more hype around it. And, you know, maybe some clients and, you know, some people who've got like, you know, a good following that we know, and get them to come down and like get some photos in there and stuff. And then we'll bring it out to the public next year. So yeah, it's exciting. It's still early stages. Like when we went in, that was literally only the other day, that photo.
Right.
Last time we went, it was a bathroom, like showroom.
Okay.
So you go in and there's just baths and toilets everywhere. Like, this isn't a gym. It was weird. But now it's all stripped out. It's like, you know, yeah, like, you know, you get that feeling like it's
real.
Yeah.
Empty canvas sort of thing. Yeah. So have you got to do much to like sort it out, or is it pretty much got what you need and it's just a case of making it look like a gym? So
to be fair, it's a really good unit. Like location and everything, it is good. We won't like, I'm not going to go into where it is and stuff, but it is good. It took us a while to find one. We went and viewed quite a few, and like this was the one when we went. I think I was away, so Reese went and he was like, "Mate, yeah, this is the one." And then like, I obviously booked in a viewing, and it is good.
Yeah, it's like somewhere in the middle of you two, just for like convenience sort of thing.
Oh, I have to see, mate.
Like it's actually right next door. It's actually right next door to me. Fuck Reese.
Imagine it's like miles, like literally bottom of the country. We both had to relocate. No, it is obviously not miles from us. But yeah, so in terms of like what it's got, like it is pretty much like the empty shell is pretty much what we want. We're gonna like separate it a bit. So upstairs there's like a big office room, but we're gonna separate that into like multiple. So me and Reese will both have one, or Reese and I, and there'll be a podcast room, and then there's gonna be a posing room. There's a mezzanine which is already in, which is save us a lot because they're a lot of money to put one up. So it's already got a mezz, and it's a big mezzanine as well. Like it's not like a tiny one; it's actually quite a big one. So posing room, cardio, abs, and things like that. And then obviously we'll just need to put all the kit in. And we've already got like a lot of the kit. There's still a few bits that we need for sure, but like we have got quite a lot. And then it's just like things like changing rooms. Like it's got a toilet / like we can turn that into like a bit of a wet room, but it hasn't got like, for example, you go into an Ultraflex, you've got changing rooms, you've got multiple showers, you've got multiple urinals and toilets. Like obviously it's not an Ultraflex because it's way better. But like
is there still that urinal round the corner in Ultraflex?
Yeah, that's the best line in the world in there, mate.
It just weirds me out so
it made
much.
me look, when I did my junior prep, it made me look like peeled 12 weeks out, and then I was still fat on stage. So yeah, if you want to look lean, just go to Ultraflex. It's good there.
Do you know, this is obviously a bit of a long shot question, but do you know where you'd want to take things? Because obviously you mentioned like coaching isn't forever, and I think it's a good mindset to have. You coach until you kind of, I don't know, lose some love for it, or you want to kind of slow down, or like there's only so long that you can coach to the capacity that you're coaching currently. Obviously you've got the gym. Do you know what you'd want to move into long term? More like, I'm going to say influencery type of content, member sites, clothing, or kind of just see what happens?
So I think the gym is a big part of it, like, because I think that is something that doesn't really matter. Like, I'll probably be that, well, we might have multiple in the years to come, who knows? But like, I imagine that over time, it will be where like we're the old boys going like, oh, we used to do this, and like we're the annoying old men. So that's probably what will happen. But then, yeah, like in terms of like my coaching, so in the new year, like I'm launching a rebrand and like an upgraded version of FK Physiques. It's changing with like another coach coming on board and all this kind of stuff. So by the time that this comes out, I think all of that be announced, but I won't go into it properly just in case. And I don't, like I said to Jack before we started, I was like, I don't want to go into it too much. I want to still keep it like quite like quiet.
I think we're about 7 weeks behind on podcasts, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah,
like,
there's a delay.
But like, even for you guys, I don't want it to. I know you won't go, oh, this is what's happening. But like, I just don't want it to be like a big thing. Well, I do, but I want it to be like when it's announced. So yeah. So basically, that'll be like the 27th. I've got like an announcement video. 28th will be another announcement video, and then like basically end of the year and start of the new year, like more things that we're announcing. So I'm really excited for it. Like, I believe in it a huge amount. Like, I think long term, in the short term, it is just going to be an upgrade and a continuation of FK Physiques under a different name and a bigger version. And in the long term, I think it can be like, did you say, in terms of like an app, member site, etc. Like, but that's in the long term. Clothing, etc. Yes, can be, you know, involved in this. Again, like we need clothing for the gym, clothing for the podcast, clothing for my new venture with my business. Like, it's just trying to spin like a million plates. And like, don't get me wrong, again, I can't complain. Like, it's good. It's a good position to be in. But it is just trying to prioritize. And like, obviously, the priority is always making sure that my clients are getting a good service and getting back to them on time. So it's like then trying to do those other behind the scenes things, the bigger picture stuff gets neglected. That's one thing I'm not good at, is I always, like I say, I just live like, and I focus on the here and now, and I don't really look at the bigger picture or plan ahead. That's something I really need to get better at, because otherwise you have like I say, you have 5 years go by, and it's, yeah, great, you've built a good business, but also you've kind of neglected that bigger picture and, you know, those other things. So yeah, I think like you were saying, like, you know, app, members site, clothing, etc., like all stuff that can for sure be on the cards. Like with the gym, we're going to have a member site included. So like we're going to be filming pretty much every session is the plan. Just have the camera rolling consistently and like just literally get as much content as we can and have that on a member site. And people that want to join, cool, you can join. And people that do join, like, awesome, it'll help us out in terms of like some of the costs for the content and things, but we're not trying to make money from it. You know, it's not like, oh, we want a member site and it's going to be like this or like that. No, like we just want to be us. Like, that's how we've got to where we are now. You know what I mean? We're just ourselves, you know, like if you meet me in person and meet Reese, we're no different to how we are on the podcast. We're just fucking two lads who've worked hard and got to a point and, you know, love what they do and are just chatting shit on a podcast. And before you know it, it's like, oh, the podcast has done pretty well. Like, and the thing is as well with the podcast, like, it's not as if we have like a crazy following or like ridiculous views, but I think we have like a really good kind of engagement on it. Like, if people are watching it, they're probably watching most of it and they probably want to like hear what we're talking about and they like us and things like that. So yeah, like the podcast is, again, another big reason as to how we kind of built what we have.
I feel like that definitely was one of the biggest things that was missing. Like, whether it was a gap in the market, I don't know whether you meant it to be or not. Like, so many people pick up podcasts and then they just kind of die off. And so once you're in, name your podcast, plug, like having that and that being so consistent. Obviously, I know you've taken some time off, but you always came back. And when you've had it in a few seasons now, I forget what season number you're on, and like you had the like studio for a bit, and then you didn't have the studio, but you kept on going and you always bring on guests. Like, it's good. It's nice to see, even even in the times where you kind of don't record as much, everyone knows it's going to come back, which is nice to see. Because like, if you think about all the bodybuilding podcasts, they're all over in America. They're all like, you got Fueled by Ads, you got the Think Big.
Whoa, what is that pronunciation?
What?
I'd say Abiad.
Is it Abiad?
I would say Abiad, yeah.
Oh,
fucking hell.
What?
Oh my God.
There you go. Well, Fuad Abiad and his podcast. But like, my point still stands. All of the good like bodybuilding podcasts are all over in America, and the scene difference between like the US versus the UK is drastic. I know obviously like Kuba's on one of the Think Big network bodybuilding podcasts. He's got his own segment, but like,
yeah, it's like every month or 6 weeks or so. It's not like a weekly one like the other ones, but yeah.
Yeah, he just kind of talks about the stuff he talks about on Instagram, which is fair enough. But like, seeing like a nice like UK podcast where you've got two, I think it helps as well that you've got someone who really flies the flag of natural bodybuilding versus someone who flies the flag of enhanced, and you're still very close mates, and seeing that, like, I don't know, uniting those things, because otherwise it feels like sometimes it feels a bit us and them with enhanced versus natural. You kind of get like, you've got like TBJP versus like NBBW, and it's like, I don't know, it can feel
like the principles are all the same. Yeah, I mean, like, I joke about like being on gear and calling Reese a big cheat and a dirty like steroid goblin, and then he's like calling me a skinny natty that looks like I've never trained, and it's my first workout before I step on stage and stuff. Like, it's all like, it's part of just taking the piss out of each other. Is like that lad matey banter, you know what I mean? Like, but like you say, like, there are people who actually are like really against the other side, and it's like, mate, just let people do what they want. Like, at the end of the day, we're all in it for the same reasons. Like, we all want to look better, feel better. Some people are happy to go a little bit further with it in terms of using enhancement. Some people are not. That's fine. Like, you do you know, as long as you are in it for the right reasons, in terms of like just wanting to be a better version of you, like whether you go enhanced or not, you can still do that. Like, you know, that's one thing with my new sort of venture and the new business is like, what we're trying to show is like, you know, especially with how popular natural bodybuilding is becoming, and it's becoming cool, it's becoming more normalized, and it's becoming like, actually, I can do this naturally, and it's actually pretty fucking cool. And there's some pretty good shows now, and like, you know, there's some people that you can look up to now, and you know, maybe in years gone by there wasn't. So we're trying to sort of be a sort of another sort of, let's say, team that are going to show that you can, you know, achieve a lot naturally, you know, and you don't have to just go down that route. If you want to, 100%, like, do what you want. Nobody's saying that you shouldn't do that, it's bad for you. Like, do what you want. You know, you need to go down that route if you want to go down that route in terms of whatever your goals are. But I think, you know, it's just a shame that a lot of people don't even know about natural bodybuilding still, or they think it's like, they see a guy who, again, there's no disrespect to anybody, but like, they see a guy who's like not got much muscle, who just looks really skinny on stage, and like, oh god, natural bodybuilding, no, I'm not doing that. Like, look at them, they look shit. But then you look at, like, if you look at some of the top natural guys, you go, fucking hell, then it's the other way around. They're not natty. No, they're not natty. So you can't win then. So you've got to be skinny and shit, or you've got to be a genetic freak. You know, anyone in the middle, it's like, you know, you can't sort of win. You know what I mean? They just think you've got to go on gear. And it's like, no, you don't have to.
That is like the most cited reason for people going enhanced, I feel, in bodybuilding, is they're like, yeah, I understand the risks, I'm comfortable with it, and I don't want to look like a natural bodybuilder. They're like, my goals are to not be a natural bodybuilder, my goals are to be an enhanced bodybuilder. And it's like, I feel like part of the reason for it is that the perception is definitely shifting, but it definitely used to be, I remember when I started bodybuilding, it was like, oh, you can natural bodybuild, but there's no money and you look shit. Yeah. And it's like, oh, and of course everyone's like, oh yeah, and your sex drive goes to shit. Oh, it's so unhealthy to prep, as if like going on assistance is going to be any healthier, like unhealthy in different ways. But yeah, I think the increase in the quality of natural athletes definitely helps. You know, like, you can look very fucking good, a lot better than people think. I think there's just, people aren't willing to maybe put in that level of effort, but you still need to put in that level of effort if you are enhanced as well.
Yeah, exactly. It shouldn't really be any different. Like, at the end of the day, like, you eat your food, you train hard, like, you do the right things, and then all it is, if you are going down that other route, is like, yeah, there's some greater health risks that you've of course got to be aware of, and in my opinion, it's just more to worry about and more to think about, more stress in terms of injecting, daily or every other day if you're doing things properly. Like, it's a ball ache, in my opinion. Like, I don't know how people have the time for it, to be honest. Like, I get it. If it's a part of your goals, of course you make the time for it. But like, how I look at it in terms of thinking about like how my days are, I think, imagine fucking having to inject on top of that. Like, and again, I guess it, you get used to it. It doesn't take long and things, but like, yeah. And I think a lot of people as well, like, they just don't like the sort of general population's views on it. Like, you speak to anybody who's not into bodybuilding and they're like so against it. And like, I'm a natural bodybuilder and I'm way more open to it than most of the general population because I understand it. You go speak to most people and they're like, oh my God, no, steroids are so bad. And it's like, I'm a natural bodybuilder and I promote natural bodybuilding and my business is around that. Where I'm still not like, oh, they're so bad, stay away. Like, because that's not how you should be. Like, you shouldn't be so against anything, really. Like, if you don't know about it, like, if you know about it, fair enough. But even then, it's still going to be your experiences on it. It's likewise with bodybuilding. Yeah, so many people hate bodybuilding because they competed once, did shit, and binged post show, and now bodybuilding is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
But likewise, there's people who love bodybuilding who are just genetic freaks who don't even have to really train that hard, and they just make great progress. And like, oh, bodybuilding's amazing. Like, oh yeah, it's easier for you. Like, so yeah, I think it's always going to be related to your experiences, how you perceive something.
It definitely gets a bad rap when you say, oh, I'm a bodybuilder. They're like, oh, it's either, are you on drugs? Did you know that drugs are bad? Or, wow, you must have a really boring diet. Those are like the two things. Or it's like, are you compensating for something? I feel like that's the main three things people think of.
The third one is correct. Yeah.
I'm
that there, mate. They're like, why have you got a Mustang and why are you a bodybuilder? I'm like, because I've got a tiny penis. That's why. Like, what?
Are you fairly certain then that you'll stay natural, or is it something that you might be open to in the future?
I think I'm like, in terms of my earlier years, which I still would class as now, like, I wouldn't be surprised if when I'm like 40 plus, like, I'll go on TRT just for the health benefits at that age, and do it in the safest way possible. I don't really see that much of a negative at that point. Let's say if I was going to have kids and I've got kids, or whatever, like, at that age, I wouldn't be against it if I've already competed and stuff. I'm not saying that I will do that. I don't know. But like, I think for people to be like, no, I'm natty forever, natty for life, bro. It's like, you aren't educated on it. And that's why, like, and again, I'm not promoting it. I definitely wouldn't be the individual who would be pushing things like and being like, oh yeah, fuck it, I've kind of got to go up to, this level because of my goals. I'm not that guy, and that's fine if you are. I don't want to be that person. But in, let's say, maybe 10, 15 years when I'm 40 plus, like, I wouldn't be against TRT just for the benefits at that age.
It is funny how in bodybuilding, we always tend to ask, I mean, and not to throw any shade on the question, Luke, but we always do ask like natural bodybuilders, it's like, are you staying natural? Or I bet AJ gets asked all the time, why do you stay natty?
Yeah.
It's almost like it's given, like, are you a good athlete? Yeah, go enhance them, what you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I bet Power gets that as well. Like, Adam, probably people are like, oh mate, go enhanced, you fucking win the IFBB, and he's like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. I think as well though, like, it is becoming more and more normalized to not go down that route, which is great. Yeah. Like, people like, say, like AJ, like Adam, like, people who are, good athletes who are promoting it, that you don't have to do that, as well as people like Ramon, who like promotes his whole social media is around like staying natural, and he's still a young guy and he's very, very good. And again, just like, even like the improvement in the shows and the extra sort of awareness of each federation putting on natural shows, like all these things, like, it is kind of blowing up right now. Like, give it another 2-3 years and maybe 5 years, it wouldn't surprise me. Obviously, it's not going to overtake. Like, there's always going to be the top freaks, and I don't mean freaks in a bad way, I mean in a good way. The top of the IFBB, Mr. Olympia, etc. That's always going to be the best. Of course it is. Like, that's fine. But I do think that in years to come, natural bodybuilding is going to be a case of having maybe decent prize money at shows. Like, it's already kind of like that, but even better. And like, most people will probably stay natural rather than the other way around. Like, I do think that kind of can happen. I'm not saying it should. I'm not saying it has to. I'm not saying that that's the right thing. But like, it wouldn't surprise me with how things are going. You look at the natural standard now versus 5 years ago, it's ridiculous. Like, it's crazy. because most people that were any good would probably go enhanced, which kind of is still the case. But like, I think a lot of people now who are good are kind of realizing that there are opportunities naturally. You know, look at someone like Keefe. Keefe could go enhanced, of course he could, but like, he's making a lot of progress still naturally. He's made so much progress naturally. He's also built his entire business naturally. AJ's built his entire business naturally. Adam has. Like, if AJ was to now go enhanced, what would that look like for MBW?
He's now a small fish in a big pond sort of thing.
Yeah, and also it would just completely derail his business, because his business is natural bodybuilding. Like, it would not make sense. Yeah, so like, even if he wanted to, he's almost like, well, I can't, or I've got to like properly change my whole business, which is fine if you had to do that, of course. But like, you know what I mean? It's like there are people now who are out there promoting it a lot more, which is good to see.
Yeah, and I think the IFBB are like opening up natural stuff now, because they've got Natural Pro in, like, they're trying to do some shows like that, and Natural Pro cards and that sort of thing.
Yeah, they've got more natural shows next year. They've got a natural pro qualifier in England next year. Like, and the thing is as well, like, again, I don't want to talk down on any federation or anything, but like the natural NPC, the natural two bro shows, they're not the best out of all of the federations. Like, I'm not saying that they might not be in the future, but like, the PCA naturals last year was awesome. The UK FBA has been, you know, going on for years, and is always really well ran. WMBF recently, you know, he's obviously come away that it was like the sort of mother of the UK FBA, but now is like separated, and that's been really good over the past few years. What else have you got? BMBF, which again has been about for years, which is still good. You know what I mean? Like, before, when I got into it, it was literally, you've got two options: UK FBA, BMBF. That was it.
Yep.
Now you've got like, what? I've just named 5, and there's still plenty more, like MPA and others. Like, so it's pretty crazy that in the short period of time, because when I got into it, it's only like 20. I think the first shows I went to were 2019. I first competed in 2020.
Yeah.
It's only 5 years ago, and it's gone from like having like, I think there were literally 4 UK FBA shows, 4 BMBF shows, and then a finals each, something like that, or like 3 or 4 qualifiers, Northern, Southern, Midlands, and Scotland, or whatever. And now there's like however many, like there's going to be 30 or something, 20, 30 natural shows. OCB next year doing a show in England. Like, it's mental. So again, imagine another 5 years. Yep. This is what I'm thinking in terms of like natural bodybuilding. I'm not saying taking over enhanced bodybuilding, but becoming a lot more popular and a lot more cool. Like, I think before it's just seen as like, oh yeah, they're just shit natties. Whereas now it's like, oh shit, there's actually loads of good natties.
It's gone from they're shit natties to, oh shit, they're natties.
They're natties. They're pretty good.
You think there's anything else that is on that sort of trajectory of like it's improving really, really quickly, or changing really, really quickly in terms of just the general bodybuilding scene? Like, anything that we're seeing at the moment that's
I think
different that people might not expect?
I think younger athletes. So like, if you look at like the teens over the past like 2-3 years, like before Josh Campbell, like, and again, this is not a plug because he's my client, but before Josh, like, I don't really remember that many good teens. And then like there was Josh, there was Josh Bogdani before that, but again, like, no disrespect to Josh Bogdani, like compared to Josh Campbell, like Josh was a better teen. Josh Bogdani's great now, but like before that, and again, it might be me not being old enough to remember.
I know there was Lewis Emmanuel before he went on. He did quite a few teen shows.
Yeah, and good, but like Josh was winning overalls. Like, it was like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I'd never seen
that's
it before.
insane.
Never seen it before. It was crazy. And then Jacob this year, Reese's client, winning an overall. It's like, where are these kids coming from? But like, they're coming from the past 5 to 10 years of content from JP, AJ, the UK scene, me and Reese. Again, that's not blowing my own trumpet. Like, Josh said, he's like listened to the podcast for ages and like got into training more and more from that. Like, that's ridiculous to me. Like, that's incredible that these younger athletes are, you know, listening to my podcast and they kind of love it and love training and get into bodybuilding from it. It's like, what? Like, that's ridiculous. And the standard of bodybuilding is improving. AJ's got a massive, massive role to play. Like, obviously I was coached by AJ and I really get on with AJ. He's a good guy. Like, he could literally, he could be the most arrogant person ever. He's pretty much just put like natural bodybuilding on the map in England. Like, he has, like, before I even knew about natural bodybuilding, I'd heard about AJ. You know what I mean? It's like, what? And even then, he wasn't even that well known. But like, I remember like people saying to me, "Oh, have you heard about this guy?" Like that's pretty mental. So yeah, I think like younger athletes. Other than that, I mean, I actually think it's probably going the other way. Like I think it's more. There's a lot of downside to like the modern social media around bodybuilding. It's a lot of it's about two camps. You've got to be this camp or this camp, and like everything's like good or bad, or it's like, you know, all for clout. You know, a lot of pages just do things to try and get more comments and more likes and things like that, which is fine. Like for engagement, I completely get that, and like obviously we all have to play to that to an extent. Like, you know, I don't like being that guy on social media that's like 5 tips for this, but like they do well, and if people get on your page and then realize you're a good coach, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? But if you're being that guy who's like not yourself on social media, and then people sign up with you, like they'll realize you're not yourself. But yeah, I think more so there's more negatives at the minute in terms of that. Like just, yeah, the whole like you've got to be science-based or you've got to be fucking hardcore. And like, as you guys probably are, and as like I liked, what one thing that me and Reese like wanted to do with the podcast was that we wanted to like promote that you don't have to be one or the other. Like there is a sort of huge gray area in between, and like you want to find where you want to be on that. And we've always kind of had that as our main, like one of our main like visions from that podcast was to educate people on that and like promote that you don't have to be one or the other. Like you can be in the middle, you can train really hard, but you can still enjoy the science behind it. You can do single arm pull downs, but you can also do yeah body rows. Like, you know, you can have that kind of program, you know, if you want to. And I think that's the best approach. I think that's what most people do now.
Yeah. Yeah,
but it's not the extreme that like sounds sexy. It's the reasonable middle ground that most people do, but nobody actually wants to hear about, as you say.
Yeah, exactly. But I think people appreciate you being open and being real. You know what I mean? Like most of the time on the podcast, like our answer is, well, it depends, and then it depends on this and this and this and this. Like, but like we had somebody say like, you're shit podcast host because we answered a question like we don't know. And like, but we didn't know.
Would
like,
you rather I make something up?
Yeah, bullshit. Like, and go, oh, this, mate, and like, oh, we actually don't know. Like, and I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't something that like we could probably go and find out. It was like ridiculous questions. That's like, if this and this and this, what if this and this and this? And it's like, mate, come on, we don't know. Like, that's just like such a weird question. Like,
sign up for coaching and then I hope.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
The thing is, if you're truthful and say, oh, I don't know, people are like, oh, you're a shit podcast host. But then if you give an answer just to answer, they try it and it doesn't work, they're going to be like, oh, you're a shit coach. And then probably say you're also a shit podcaster. So you can't really win either way, can you?
Yeah. I'd much rather, like, same with, like, as a coach, like, someone asks me a question I don't know. Like, I literally like, mate, I honestly don't know. Like, let's try and find out. Like, this is exciting. Like, let's try and find this out together. You know, like, if you have, like, a client who's got, like, a certain issue, it's like, right, let's try and work this out. That's, you learn on the job so much as well within coaching. You know, like, nobody knows everything. I like to think I've got good knowledge. I like to think that I'm well educated. I like to think that I've got a lot of experience, but I still don't know everything. Of course I don't. Like, nobody does. You learn so much. Everybody's different. You know, you learn on the job. I think a lot of people now like want to be the smartest guy in the room, which is great. But also, like, you can easily become a little bit naive, and you can end up sort of stunting your growth if you end up thinking that way.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Right, boys, I've got to shoot, but you two, this is great. You two feel free to carry on and chat some more shit, or if equally think you've got to go as well, that's absolutely fine, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I don't want to spend more time with Jack either.
Tag the story.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
Will it let you out the meeting while it's being recorded? I can't wait to find out.
All right, see you later, boys.
Yeah,
All right, see you, mate. Okay, we'll wrap up because I should probably shoot off to go train to get back in time for the work I've got to do this evening. But yeah, mate, I think a lot of the things that you talked about today are going to resonate with a lot of people. I think social media just loves. The thing is, like, the more one-sided you are on social media, the more, like, the better it does. But it does well because people comment either agreeing or disagreeing, but you're not actually like getting people on side. You're kind of riling people up and rewarding them. Like, science-based and using RIR and setting volume to the moon, or doing 1 set per month and just absolutely killing yourself on it, like, or like, you know, bodybuilding with enhancements to the point where like you die at 21 versus like being a natural to the point of not even consuming creatine. Like, everyone seems to like thrive on these kind of weird dichotomies. I think, like you said, it is refreshing to see you and Reese, where, because no one's going to get on with one completely than the other, so kind of blending those things makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Perfect, mate. I've got a few kind of little questions I want to ask that we always ask, if you've got the time for it, just like a quick fire, and we'll wrap up. So this one might be an interesting one. It might be a little bit of a thinker, but is there an insult you've ever received that you're proud of? Maybe something that someone meant as insulting, but you don't take it as an insult.
I don't know. I guess being accused of being on gear when you like getting into training, that's like a positive insult, isn't it?
Yeah.
What else have I had? I would say, you know, like when people, like my mates will take the piss out of me in terms of like how I like my most things that I do, like training or food or like looking after myself in terms of like my clothes, like my fashion sense or anything like that. So like just getting the piss taken out of you for like looking after yourself. Like I would say it's probably, I don't take offense. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, fine. Like I'm happy for you to take the piss out of things that I deem as good things.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Nightmare meal plan. So you can keep it to like as many meals as you want, 2, 3, 11, whatever. But say you hired a coach and they just gave you the absolute possible worst meal plan you can think of. What would that look like? If you're struggling, you can go for just one meal.
Okay, so like foods that I hate, basically. Then
it's got to be edible though. You can't be like urine.
I love urine, mate. To be fair, like I used to be quite picky with food, but I'm not anymore. I feel like after I prepped, I was so depleted that like, I'll eat anything, like literally. So now, I guess, what don't I really like?
No dates involved.
Yeah, if there's no dates, mate. If there's no dates, I can't live. Fucking hell, I love dates. Love daddlers. To be fair, honestly, like I'm really not picky anymore. Like I could eat. The thing is, I'm thinking of foods that like most people would eat. Like,
mate, you can get weird with it. You can be like, yeah, tuna yogurt or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind tuna, but it probably wouldn't go with yogurt. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, potato, like loads and loads of potato. You know, like how some people have like 2 kilos of potato a day, and it's like, what? How on earth are you doing that? Like, I don't digest potato very well. It's very like obviously if it is quite high volume compared to rice, like most of my meals when I'm on like more calories are rice based. But even when I am on less total calories and total carbs, like I'll have some more potato based meals, but not a lot. So I guess loads of potato. Oats, to be fair, like are digesting very well at the minute. So like I can't really complain if this meal plan had oats on it. But yeah, like if it was literally like meal 1, 200 grams of chicken, 500 grams of potato, meal 2 the same, meal 3 the same. And it was like that 6 times over. Like yeah. Or like turkey, because turkey is like turkey mince, which is just dry and tastes of nothing.
Yeah.
Turkey mince and potato 10 times, I guess, wouldn't be great. It'd work though. Like it might not be great, but
yeah,
well,
like
it'd work. My digestion wouldn't be great.
Yeah, nutritionally it's sound, but
yeah, maybe not sound. No fruit or veg at all. To be fair, I like fruit a lot. Like I have fruit with every meal, especially dates. Dates with every meal.
Mate, your obsession with dates is so funny.
Hey, have you tried them?
Yeah, they are good,
mate. So good.
Jesus, mate.
They are so nice. It's like I don't know how people can't like them. Like if you get good dates, it's literally like a caramelized, like sweet. How can you not like that? And it's a fruit. You know, it's like so good.
You need like a Conti dates
collaboration. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually what's coming soon. It's that's what I'm hiding. It's the really just bringing out my own dates. That's what I said to someone. They were like, "What is it?" Because I keep like teasing it. I was like, "Just bringing out my own dates."
That's what the big like warehouse is for. It's not a gym. It's just going to store a bunch of dates.
Date factory. Yeah.
Your meal plan. All right, and then final question. Name 3 people you'd never coach.
I would never coach.
Yeah. You can get a bit spicy with this one if you want to. according to social media, you should get spicy with this one because it will do great. It gives us great.
Yeah. 3 people I would never coach. I would say, and this is probably like a bit of a generic one, but I would probably say like your partner.
Yeah.
Probably not a good idea. Fair enough helping them out, but coaching them, like, I don't think is a good idea. I'd probably say like even the same with like your closest friends and family, because you just get pissed off with them and then they won't. It can impact that relationship. Like, I'm not saying you can't do it. I think you definitely can. Like, you've seen it work with other people, but yeah, I don't think I'd want to really cross that, like have that coach and relationship thing. It can work. I've seen it work loads. Probably not the thing I would really want to do, to be honest. Other than that, I mean, I don't really have anything against people. You know what I mean? It's not like anyone that I'm like, oh, I hate them. Like, I'm not coaching them. Like, probably Reese, because
would he listen to you?
Well, like obviously when you prepped before, it was like, and same with me, like we kind of like have a look over each other and stuff. But like because we're close and because we do it for a living, we kind of, it's almost just like, I'm going to do this. What do you think? You know what I mean? So like it's not really like I'd coach him anyway. So I guess Reese is one. And yeah, he probably wouldn't listen, and he would just annoy me, I guess. So that's 2, I guess. Yeah, and then who else? Kind of think if there's anyone like within natural bodybuilding that I'm just like, no. To be fair, like, and this isn't any client specifically, but like, you know, those clients who you've worked with in the past, and then they've just been like rude in some way, or they've been like disrespectful in some way, or they've like just basically like been somebody that you don't want to work with.
Yeah.
Any of those. Like if I got an application from like, let's say one of those, and there's not many, like I could literally maybe on like one hand is how many I've had in 8 years or something. But like those kind of people, I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, bro, let's go. I'd be like, no, like, sorry, but like, it's not worth my time. And like, based on how things have been in the past, like, I don't really want to. And again, like you have to earn the right to get to that point. And again, mate, I can, off the top of my head, that would be like maybe like 2 or 3 people who, when I think back, I'm like, nah, they were a bit rude, or you know, they pissed me off when I did work with them. But there's not many. Yeah, not many.
And that's usually when people hire a coach when they've got maybe deeper issues going on, and they kind of, you can tell when they're like a bit lash out a little bit sometimes, and you're like, look, ultimately you gaining muscle or losing fat doesn't really have an effect on my day. I'm only doing it because you asked me to.
Trying to help you, Josh, literally chatting to Josh Campbell about this. He had a client from like Australia. I don't think he'll mind me saying. And like Josh was giving him form feedback, and the guy was like, "You're egotistical. Like I've been in the gym like 20 years longer than you have. Why are you like, you shouldn't speak to me like this?" And like apparently Josh just said to him like, you know, we can definitely improve the intensity here. You know, you've definitely got more to give. You can push yourself harder on this. Like, and the guy obviously just didn't like it. And Josh was like, "Okay, see you later."
Mad. Imagine being told, hey, you could literally be like, even if you were like, oh, I've got a cool physique, if someone turned around and was like, hey, yeah, but you could be doing even better, and you're like, nah, fuck off, how dare you? Like,
how dare you? I've just paid you to help me, and now I don't want the advice.
Yeah, man, like what do you want your coach to do? To be like, yeah, everything you're doing was mint, you've got no issues, keep on as you were.
People just want a cheerleader, don't they? They just want like, they want a weekly check-in where the coach goes like, yes, bro, you know, you look amazing, you're doing great, see you next week. Like, that's not coaching, that's just being a cheerleader.
Yeah, 100%. All right, mate, thank you for coming on. Here's your chance to plug yourself to our micro audience. So where can people find you? What things do you want to promote and push and all that crap?
So I'll keep it super quick. Current name on Instagram is FinnKelly_coach, but it will be changing soon. But if you follow me now, then you'll still see it. Although actually this will be out by then. So
yeah, it should be.
Put in Finn and it should come up. Put in F and I'll be the top one. No, put in Finn Kelly and it should come up. And then the gym in the new year. Keep an eye on that. It is called on Instagram Unknown Project 2025. That is not the name of the gym, guys. That is because we haven't like planned it all out yet. So yeah, Unknown Gym 2025. Follow that on Instagram. Once you're in podcast on Spotify and on YouTube, Finn Kelly on YouTube. I think that's everything, mate.
Your affiliate links if you want to push them.
Yeah. Sorry, Conte, Fin10, Conte Sport. Other than that, if you want anything from Jimpin, Fin10. I don't think I'm sponsored by anyone else. If I am, then I'm really sorry. I don't think I am. Conte.
I feel like you should know. I like that I said, "Do you want to push an affiliate link?" and you said, "Oh yeah, sorry."
Sorry, guys. Yeah, mate. I am like, I'm not, because I don't see myself as like, like an influencer.
Yeah.
And it's like, buy this. Like, I don't see myself as that. Like, obviously, I get like my clients use my code for stuff because they need it. Like, that's awesome. Like, I don't want it to be like, buy this. Like, this will change your life. Like, I'm not like that. So if you want anything from Conte, Fin10, if you don't, then that's okay as well. But I would recommend having a look going on there. It's good.
All right, man. Okay, we're going to wrap up the recording there. Thanks everyone for listening. Have a good whatever time it is.